Okay, so if you remember, till yesterday we had done till here. Following shall not be treated as business income. So so today we are starting from the second point. Okay, so what is this? What is this? We are talking about section 9. Section 9 is what? Income deemed to accrue or arise in India. राइट सो इसके बारे में थोड़ा हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं उसके बारे में वी सॉ वन न्यू पॉइंट ऑफ सिग्निफिकेंट इकोनॉमिक प्रेजेंस आई होप यू आर क्लियर विद द सिग्निफिकेंट इकोनॉमिक प्रेजेंस देयर वर 2 points. One is in relation to amount. If the amount is more than 2 crores, then in that case SEP हो सकता है, that is significant economic presence. And point number 2, if the user base in India is more than 3 lakhs, then in that case SEP can get established, because of which the business connection will be in India. इसका मतलब अगर बिजनेस कनेक्शन इंडिया में होगा तो जितना इंडिया से अमाउंट एट्रीब्यूट हुआ है दैट विल बी टैक्सेबल इन इंडिया. Okay, but there are certain points which will not be considered as having a business connection in India. So we discussed all these 5 points. I will come to the second point now. Income from property or asset or source of income in India, which means what is happening. For example, I am a non-resident. I having a fixed deposit in India. If I'm having a fixed deposit in India, can I say I will earn income from India? Definitely yes. Understand one thing. I am a non-resident. I am getting interest income of fixed deposit in outside India only. For example, I'm in London right now. I have one fixed deposit in Kotak Mahindra Bank, Mumbai, and interest on that fixed deposit I'm receiving in London only. So I'm a resident of London. Amount is getting received in London. You will get a feeling that it will not be taxable because the person who is receiving the income is outside India, and the the place where it is received is also outside India. But no, it is not like that. Since the income has been generated in India, that is why it will be considered as Indian income, and Indian income will be taxable for everyone if it is ROR, RNOR, and NR. That's why point number 2 specifically states that if you have any property in India and if any income is getting generated from that property, even though you are a non-resident, but still it will be taxable in India. Why? Because it will become an Indian income. इंडियन इनकम कभी बनता है? इंडियन इनकम बनता है इफ इट इज अक्रूड इन इंडिया और इफ इट इज रिसीव्ड इन इंडिया. रिसीव तो नहीं हो रहा है बट अक्रू तो हो रहा है ना. किसके हिसाब से? सेक्शन नंबर 9 के हिसाब से, दिस पॉइंट नंबर 2 के हिसाब से. एकदम प्रॉपर, कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. देयर कैन बी वन मोर पॉइंट वेयर आई हैव वन हाउस प्रॉपर्टी इन इंडिया. आई एम अ नॉन रेसिडेंट स्टेइंग इन लंडन. आई हैव अ हाउस प्रॉपर्टी इन इंडिया and I have given that house property on rent. So amount which I'm receiving, rental amount which I'm receiving that amount in London only. Then you will get a feeling that the person who is receiving the income is residing outside India, and the amount is also received outside India. It should not be taxable, but it is not like that. Since the property was situated in India, it will be considered as Indian income, and Indian income will be taxable for NR also, ROR also, and RNOR also. This is your point number 2. I hope you are absolutely clear with this. I will move ahead with point number 3, that is capital gain on transfer of a capital asset situated in India. ऊपर हम लोग बात कर रहे थे, there was one asset and there is some income generating from that asset. I did not say capital gain. I did not sell this asset. I am generating income from that asset. In point number 2. Point number 3 is I have one asset, I'm selling that asset. Now, since I am a non-resident, I am selling one Indian asset. So even though I am receiving that income outside India, it will still be considered as Indian income, and I will have to pay tax in India even though I am a non-resident, because the asset was situated in India. This is your point number 3. Point number 2 was income was generated from that asset, and point number 3 is I sold that asset, I got the income. So in both the cases, I will be considered as, okay, I will have to pay taxes in India. This is your point number 2 and point number 3. I hope you are clear. I will move ahead with the last slide of residential status. The 4th point, salary income deemed to accrue at the place where services are rendered. इसका example क्या देखते हैं? अपना गवर्नमेंट है, गवर्नमेंट everybody knows government of India has one person. That person is an Indian citizen. That Indian citizen is leaving India to work in the embassy of India in some other country. For example, गवर्नमेंट का एक बंदा जो इंडियन सिटीजन है, who is coming to UK and working in Indian embassy. अगर ऐसे लोगों को सैलरी मिलता है, then in that case it will be taxable in the hands of that person. It will be taxable in the hands of that person. If I am that person, मुझे tax भरना पड़ेगा in India. Why? Because it is actually not. See, is it received in India? No, because I'm staying in the UK. Is it accrued in India? No, I'm providing the service in the UK. So actually it is not received also, it is not accrued also, but still it will be deemed to accrue or arise in India. And I will have to pay taxes in India. I hope everyone is clear with this part. Taxable salary. Perfect. The next one is allowances and perquisites. So if government gives me any allowances and perquisites, that will be absolutely exempt, but salary will always be taxable. Allowance and perquisites will always be exempt from tax, right? Okay, there is one note: pension payable outside India by the government to officials and judges who permanently reside outside India, not deemed to accrue or arise in India, and no tax. Basically, if the government is giving any pension, not salary, pension, to whom? To officials and judges, तो वो क्या होगा? Exempt हो जाएगा. ये तेरा पॉइंट है. सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट अभी आने वाला है, पॉइंट नंबर 5. Salary income deemed to accrue at the place where services are rendered. This is the place where everybody or most of you guys can get confused. So मेरे रेगुलर बैच में भी मैंने एक चार्ट बना के दिया था. वो चार्ट जस्ट मोहम्मद, जस्ट गिव मी 1 minute. ओके, ठीक है, नो प्रॉब्लम मोहम्मद. आई थॉट यू आर आस्किंग एनी डाउट. या सो मेन बैच में मैंने चार्ट निकाल के दिया था, वो चार्ट मैं अभी प्रेजेंट कर रहा हूं. जस्ट अंडरस्टैंड दिस, जस्ट रिफर टू दिस चार्ट. यू टेक एनी क्वेश्चन, यू विल बी एबल टू आंसर दैट क्वेश्चन. ओके, अब ये चार्ट एग्जैक्टली क्या बोलता है, अभी पहले टेबल देखते हैं. इफ okay, what is this? Salary income deemed to accrue at the place where services are rendered. Okay, this is done. The next point is taxable if paid by government of India to non-resident. If any amount is paid by government of India to non-resident, it will always be taxable to non-resident if it is paid by government of India, because Indian government ने उसको पे किया था. So non-resident को इधर टैक्स भरना पड़ेगा. अभी मैं नेक्स्ट पॉइंट पे आता हूँ, सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट, रेसिडेंट टू नॉन रेसिडेंट. अभी सबका ध्यान इधर. कीप योर डिस्ट्रैक्शंस अवे फॉर द टाइम बीइंग. For 3 hours I meant. See, there are two parts. There are two persons here. One is a resident person and the second one is a non-resident person. What do you think? We are talking from resident person's perspective or non-resident person perspective?
Non-resident.
We should talk from non-resident perspective. Why? Because resident को तो सब कुछ ही टैक्स होता है ना. Everything is taxable for resident. So we have to specifically talk about non-resident. सबका ध्यान इधर. अभी हो क्या रहा है? देख, there are two parties, resident and non-resident. This non-resident is giving loan or know-how or some technical service to a resident person. Now, if non-resident gives these services to resident, can I say he can expect something from resident in monetary terms? Right. So resident person will pay some consideration to non-resident. Are you agreeing to this? Resident person will pay some consideration to non-resident person. Perfect. Now the resident person क्या दे सकता है? Loan के against interest देगा, know-how के against royalty देगा, and technical service के against fees for technical service देगा. बराबर? So can I say for a non-resident these three things are his income? Yes. So we need to identify whether these 3 points are considered as taxable income for such non-resident or no. हमारा क्वेश्चन ये है. अगर मैं नॉन रेसिडेंट हूं, अगर मैंने कौन से रेसिडेंट पर्सन को लोन दिया, नो हाउ दिया, टेक्निकल सर्विस दिया, इसके अगेंस्ट इफ आई एम गेटिंग एनी इंटरेस्ट, रॉयल्टी और फीस फॉर टेक्निकल सर्विस, वेदर दैट अमाउंट विल बी टैक्सेबल इन माय हैंड्स और नो, वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस. ओके, अभी टैक्सेबिलिटी, सबका ध्यान इधर. Taxability of this income for this non-resident will be dependent upon utilization of that loan by a resident person. वापस बोल रहा हूं, नॉन रेसिडेंट पर्सन के हाथ में टैक्स लगेगा कि नहीं लगेगा, ये डिपेंड करता है ऑन द यूटिलाइजेशन, मैनर ऑफ यूटिलाइजेशन बाय अ रेसिडेंट पर्सन. इसका मतलब इफ दिस रेसिडेंट पर्सन, I will just talk from loans perspective now. मतलब मैं जब भी loan बोलता हूँ, just assume that I'm talking about all the 3 things, right? So for convenience purpose, I'm saying loan. If this resident person takes money from non-resident, take a loan liya, and he utilizes that loan in India, then in that case, whatever interest will be paid on that loan will be taxable for non-resident. वापस रेसिडेंट ने लोन लेके अगर वो इंडिया में यूटिलाइज किया, तो जो भी इंटरेस्ट पे करेगा रेसिडेंट पर्सन टू नॉन रेसिडेंट, वो क्या होगा? टैक्सेबल होगा. Perfect. If that person utilizes that amount outside India, then you need to check whether that person is utilizing that amount outside India for business purpose or not for business purpose. If this person resident is taking that amount outside India and using it for business purpose, then that interest will be what? Not taxable. I'm not discussing the logics here because it has to be quick. So just either understand करना कि exactly क्या है ये. और अगर मैंने वही पैसा लेके आउटसाइड इंडिया गया, आउटसाइड इंडिया जाके मैं बिजनेस पर्पस के लिए यूज नहीं किया, देन जो भी मैं इंटरेस्ट पे करूंगा वो नॉन रेसिडेंट को, इट विल बी टैक्सेबल. इफ यू रिमेंबर दिस पूरा चार्ट, तुझे कौन सा भी क्वेश्चन आने दे, मेरा गारंटी है दैट यू विल अंडरस्टैंड दिस. Everybody clear with this chart exactly क्या हो रहा है? So can I say for as a conclusion, can I say non-residents taxability is dependent upon the manner of utilization of that amount by a resident person. Perfect. Great. अभी similar point आता है इधर. Now here there is one non-resident giving some loan to another non-resident. Giving some loan to another non-resident. I am talking from this non-resident's perspective. Income किसका है? Right hand side वाले non-resident का. Right? Okay. That non-resident is giving loan to, okay, मैं 1-2 लिखता हूँ, so तेरा problem नहीं आएगा. This is NR1 and this is NR2. NR2 has given loan to NR1. Now again here the funda will remain the same. NR2's income will be taxable or no will be dependent upon the manner of utilization by NR1 of that loan. Now if that NR1 uses that loan in India for business or profession, then Modi ji is like, you have to pay tax in India. So even though both the persons are non-resident, तुम लोग भारत में आके कुछ तो काम कर रहे हो कि नहीं? Then it will be taxable in India. What will be taxable? ये जो non-resident 1, non-resident 2 को interest का payment करेगा ना, that interest payment will be taxable for this non-resident 2. बट अगर वही नॉन रेसिडेंट 1 ने वो लोन का अमाउंट इंडिया में यूटिलाइज किया, बट अदर देन बिजनेस एंड प्रोफेशन, देन इन दैट केस मोदी जी लाइक कि ठीक है, तो इधर धंधा नहीं कर रहा ना, तो कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, देन इट विल नॉट बी टैक्सेबल. व्हाट इज नॉट टैक्सेबल? NR1 टू NR2 जो लोन का इंटरेस्ट का पेमेंट होगा, दैट विल नॉट टैक्सेबल, नॉट बी टैक्सेबल. Okay, now NR1 has taken a loan from NR2 and he's using that loan outside India. Now you only think जो लोन देने वाला है outside India, जो लोन लेने वाला है वो outside India है, and the place where it is getting utilized is outside India. Can Modi ji ask for money or ask for tax from such transactions? He cannot ask for such taxes from such transactions because nothing is related to India. राइट. सो दैट इज वाई अगर ये सिचुएशन होगा, तो ऑफकोर्स जो भी इनकम NR1 टू NR2 जाएगा, दैट विल नॉट बी टैक्सेबल. नाउ आई विल गिव यू 2 minutes, जस्ट राइट दिस डाउन, because if I ask you to take a photo and write, then it will always remain in your gallery. एंड वन मोर थिंग, इफ यू हैव एनी डाउट्स, conceptual doubts, कुछ समझ ही नहीं रहे क्या चल रहा है, अगर ऐसा कुछ है, प्लीज नोट दैट डाउन. आफ्टर द लेक्चर आई विल सिट विथ यू एंड आई विल सॉल्व ऑल द डाउट्स, conceptual doubts. Don't worry. हुआ के दोस्त?
Sir, 2 minutes.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, chalo, we'll start. चलो वीडियोस ऑन करो फटाफट. Now after referring to our chart, if you refer to this, तो अभी मत करना. जब भी आपको टाइम होगा ना बहुत, तभी ये ट्राई करना क्रैक करने का, because this becomes a bit complicated to understand, and that's why I have bifurcated and I made it simple for you to read it one day before the exam. Okay, चलो last point है ये. Dividend paid by Indian company outside India. Of course dividend paid by Indian company है. Of course Indian company ने dividend pay किया तो it will become an Indian income, and that is why it will be taxable for all the shareholders. वो India ROR होने दो, RNOR होने दो या NR होने दो, because Indian company dividend दे रहा है, Indian it is income is accrued in India. परफेक्ट है. ओके, उसके बाद छोटा सा एक चार्ट है, एक बार वो चार्ट पढ़ लेना, सबका एक समरी दिया है मैंने. एक लास्ट पॉइंट है रेसिडेंशियल स्टेटस के लिए. मनी पेड टू नॉन रेसिडेंट और अ फॉरेन कंपनी बाय रेसिडेंट. रेसिडेंट ने नॉन रेसिडेंट को कुछ पैसा ट्रांसफर किया इन एग्रीगेट ऑफ मोर देन 50,000 रुपीज इन वन फाइनेंशियल ईयर, then of course for the non-resident it will be deemed to accrue or arise in India, and it will be taxable under section 56 to 10. कभी लाइफ में देखा है क्या सेक्शन ये 56 to 10? ऐसा कुछ तो सेक्शन है IFOS में, गिफ्ट टैक्सेशन. Perfect. Gift taxation के लिए. So for a non-resident, since the amount is more than 50,000, it will be taxable in the hands of the recipient. That is for a non-resident, right? And this is how we are done with the residential status का revision. I hope you are clear with residential status. जो जितना मैं deep में जा सकता था उतना मैं deep में गया हूँ. And with this we are starting with the questions of residential status now. Right? Everybody ready? Okay. 1 minute. So let's start with the questions now. Now you will get two books. One is the concept book and second one will be the question bank. Now concept book में अभी जो मैंने दिखाया everything will be there, and in the question bank I have compiled all the important questions. I have not given 100 questions because it will be impractical to solve each and every question. So all those questions which are important for you to solve, I have kept only those questions. So it is expected that you will do at least these questions and go for the exam, because these are already altered and filtered. Okay, ठीक है. चलो, illustration 1. Now how am I going to solve the sums? See, understand, we are going to write it. We are going to write the sums. Okay, write the answers of this. But we are going to cover all the types of the questions. Now, like for example, this CDC, continuous discharge certificate पे ऐसा question बहुत common है. This type of question comes, then we'll do one sum of this. Then after that ROR होगा, RNOR होगा, then NR होगा, उसका taxability. That type of question we'll do. So approximately 7 to 8 questions we are going to write it and solve it. Okay? Okay, so we'll start with illustration 1. I'm also going to tell you how to read the question. Okay, Mr. Anand is an Indian citizen, no problem, and a member of crew of a foreign bound, Singapore bound Indian ship engaged in the carriage of passengers in international traffic departing from Chennai port on 6th June 2021. ठीक है, ये पढ़ने के बाद I should understand कि residential status में there was one concept of foreign bound ship leaving India as a member of crew member of Indian ship. It has to click. It has to click. Don't wait for the last word to get completed, then you will again start reading the question. Don't do this while reading the question. Only start analyzing what can be this and why they have given this. Okay, so if I read this, I will understand one thing. There was some exception, and in that exception, there was one jane wala, that is leaving India for two purposes. One is for employment, and second one as a crew member of Indian ship. Okay, I understood कि second basic condition is not applicable for that person. इधर मैंने एक कॉन्सेप्ट लॉक कर दिया, इधर मैंने कॉन्सेप्ट लॉक कर दिया. इसके ऊपर अभी आगे पढ़ते क्या करना है वो. ठीक है. From the following details for the previous year 21-22, determine the residential status of Mr. Anand for assessment year 21-22, 22-23, sorry. So whenever you will see assessment year, you have to do one thing. You have to first convert that assessment year into financial year. पहले financial year में convert कर दो. That financial year is what? Financial year is 21-22. ठीक है. So we have to identify the residency status for financial year 21-22, assuming that his stay in India in the last 4 previous years is 400 days. ये क्यों दिया होगा? Can somebody tell me?
So for the condition of those 180 days.
Okay, 182 days and the second condition of 365 days. For that, right? Okay. So basically, ये पूरा जो point दिया है ना, टाइम पास कर रहा है, टाइम पास. पूरा ये पॉइंट है ना, ये पूरा सेंटेंस है ना, ये टाइम पास कर रहा है. क्यों? बिकॉज वी जस्ट नाउ अंडरस्टूड दैट he is leaving India as a crew member of Indian ship, which means he is falling under the exceptions, which means for him the second basic condition is not applicable. What was second basic condition? The second basic condition was 60 days plus 365 days in the last 4 years. Now they have given last 4 years ka data so that you will get confused. See, this is more than 365 days. This is to confuse you so that you will apply the second basic condition, but you should not apply second basic condition. And that is why understanding the question by reading every sentence is very important. So we will just ignore this part. Perfect. Understood how to read the question? Jhalak samjha?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Now they have given some date entered into CDC, so it was expected कि वो लोग देंगे because crew member है, एक rule है. Can somebody tell me the rule number?
126.
126 पक्का? Okay. The rule 126 में लिखा है कि CDC का entry date and CDC का exit date. If we consider that date, we will assume that for these many days he is outside India. Correct? Okay. Now entry date दिया है 6 June and exit date दिया है, signing off का date is 9th December. Can somebody tell me, identify this period? 6th June to 9th December. My only one question is, will I consider 6 June?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Will I
Yes.
consider 9th
4
December?
days.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. I will consider both the dates because in my notes also, in the first page, second page पे ऊपर मैंने point पे लिखा है, क्या लिखा है, that entry date and exit date both should be considered. So here also you have to consider both. 6 June को आया कितने भी बजे आने दे, 6 June I will consider and 9th December I will consider. So whenever I will compute the number of days, it will be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 December. Understanding how will I compute the number of days, everybody?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Abhi, I am going to give you 2 minutes and I want you to identify for how many days he was in India. Just identify this and text me in the chat box so that I will understand. Try karo ek bar. गलत गया तो भी चलेगा. I will not judge you, don't worry. Yes, Shruti. See, my question is for how many days he is in India. Don't just compute 6 June to 9 December. Understand my question. My question is for how many days he was in India. Okay. Now first we'll understand what is the period for which he was outside India. Sorry, for which he was outside India, which means he was on the ship. How will we consider 6 June से लेके 9th of December तक? If we add everything, if I'm not wrong, I will get the answer of 187. Is everybody getting that amount first? 187. Okay. If 187 for 187 days he is outside India, then in that case, can I say total number of days in a year is 365? So 365 may say if I reduce 187, I will get the answer of 178 or something,
Yes.
right? So can I say for 178 days he was in India? वापस, for 187 days he was in the ship. If he was in the ship for 187 days, so can I say he was outside India for 187 days? So total number of days कितने हैं? Total number of days in a year is 365.
So 188.
188 आता है या 187 आता है? If I'm not wrong,
187 only.
7, sir.
6 June also will consider, no?
25 days of June.
हाँ, 25 days of June. 31 किया क्या जून के लिए तूने?
Oh yes.
देखा, ये गलती से भी तुम लोग का पूरा मार्क जा सकता है. इधर नहीं होगा, इतना फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा आंसर में, बट स्टिल यू नो अगर वो 181 और 182 होता तो डेफिनेटली तेरा आंसर चेंज होता. और देयर इज अ हाई पॉसिबिलिटी कि इंस्टीट्यूट डज दिस 181 and 182. Everybody understanding how did I compute 187? So 187 days के लिए was outside India, which means in India he was there for 365 minus 187, which means 178 days. Now 178 days के लिए इंडिया में है तो उसके लिए कंडीशंस दिखने चालू करेंगे. बेसिक कंडीशन. पॉइंट नंबर 1, 182 days or more he should be in India. Is he in India for more than 182 days? No. First basic condition not applicable. Second basic condition for him is not applicable only because he is that person who is leaving India, which means can I say he is not satisfying any of the basic conditions? Which means he will be considered as a non-resident in India for financial year 21-22. पहला ये चीज आइडेंटिफाई करो, उसके बाद तुम लोग का आंसर फटाफट आ जाएगा. और एक चीज ना तुम लोग को मैं बोलता हूँ, ये बहुत मेरा एक बहुत डाउट्स आता है सर, हाउ टू प्रेजेंट द आंसर. सी the way you thought about the provisions, you just start writing those provisions. How did you think about the provisions? First you thought about what? Date of entry exit. You thought about what? 6 June to 9 December. तो पहले सोचा, लिख दे. There is no specific format to write the answers. There is no specific format. So बिंदास लिख, तुझे जो पहले प्रोविजन लिख, उसके बाद एनालिसिस लिख. अभी हम लोग ये पूरा लिखने वाला है. So पहले हम लोग क्या लिखेंगे? What do you think? हम लोग क्या लिखेंगे? हम लोग पहले लिखेंगे कि for him second basic condition is not applicable because he is a member of crew of Indian ship. उसके बाद हम लोग लिखेंगे कि will I try to identify the total number of days he was outside India. Then CDC का point लिखेंगे. So तुझे आंसर लिखना है ना, तो तुझे ऐसे आंसर लिखना पड़ेगा. देख, अभी if you see my answer, you'll realize that I have not written anything technical. I have just written my understanding of the provisions. तुझे यही करना है. If a person is of Indian origin, if a person is an Indian citizen होना चाहिए, is an Indian citizen and leaving India as a member of Indian ship, then he would be considered as a resident if he satisfies the following condition: stays in India for 182 days or more. That's it. This is my concept. This is my provision. Okay. उसके बाद period mentioned in the continuous discharge certificate, that is the start date and the end date, would be considered as stay outside India. This was also my understanding because CDC entered it, exited. Period. Now we'll compute what was the period outside India. 6/6/21 to 9/12/21, which will come to 187 days. So point number C, period of stay in India will be 365 minus 187. It will be 178. You can write days also. Okay. If you want to refer to the rule, you can write like this: period of stay in India as per rule 126. Now 178 days has, since he is not fulfilling the basic condition of 182 days, he is a non-resident for financial year 21-22. खत्म. आजू बाजू का बात ही मत करो. Just focus on the provision and finish this off. Now this is a very common question which can come. So I have given you this so that you will now know that what is the content to write in the exam. So can you just write this points in the notebook? So question 1 of the question bank. So if you refer to the content, no, you'll remember this content and you can write it in the exam paper. Can you see the question, Diksha? Yeah, guys, done.
One
Sir,
minute.
2 minutes.
Okay.
सर अभी जैसे अगर हमको एग्जाम में टाइम कम रहा तो हम शॉर्ट फॉर्म यूज कर
In the tax paper, what they see is, in the tax paper, they see whether your reasoning is correct or no. If your reasoning is wrong, and you should not jump on the conclusion directly, he's a non-resident, he's a resident. Why you are saying this is that person is a resident? Why you are saying that person is a non-resident? If you're able to justify this, you will get the answer, you will get the marks. Don't worry about it. But there should not be any connection gap. कि तूने कुछ ऐसे फैक्ट लिखा, उसके बाद सीधा कंक्लूजन लिखा. They know that you have not understood. तुक्का मार के आया तू. ऐसा उनको लगता है, and that is why our reasoning should be proper. If it is perfectly drafted in your own words, no problem at all. Just एक बार provision जब explain करेंगे ना, अपने language में कर चलेगा, but wordings should not change. For example, continuous discharge certificate should come as continuous discharge certificate only. Right? Like that. Okay, chalo. Let's begin with the next question. So this is one type of a question which you can see in MCQs also, or maybe in 6 marks questions also. So 6 marks may there can be 2 subparts, and one of the subparts can be this. Okay, now I will move ahead with the next question. अलग-अलग type के questions कर रहा हूँ मैं ये. Illustration 5. From the following particulars of income furnished by Mr. Anirudh, pertaining to the year ended 31/3/2022, compute the total income for assessment year 20-23. Whenever we see assessment year, we have to first convert that assessment year. किधर गया रे? Convert that assessment year into financial year. मतलब financial year 21-22. Perfect. No problem in this. If he is ROR, then what will be the case? If he is RNOR, then what will be the case? And if he is NR, then what will be the case? अभी आराम से देखना है. अगर वो NR होगा तो क्या, ROR और RNOR होगा तो क्या? Short term capital gains on sale of shares of an Indian company received in Germany. अभी तुझे क्या करना है? ये एक ट्रांजैक्शन है. अभी just think about ROR. What do you think? For ROR, these capital gains will be taxable or not taxable? ये भी आइडेंटिफाई करने के पहले मैं तुम लोग को एक चीज बताऊंगा. पहले ये आइडेंटिफाई करो कि whether this is an Indian income or foreign income. If it is your Indian income, don't think about anything. It will be taxable for all. If it is a foreign income, you know that foreign income is not taxable for NR, बट ROR के लिए टैक्सेबल होगा. तो पहले वो आइडेंटिफाई करो कि वो इंडियन इनकम है या फॉरेन इनकम है. शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन्स ऑन सेल ऑफ शेयर्स ऑफ एन इंडियन कंपनी रिसीव्ड इन जर्मनी. इज दिस एन इंडियन इनकम और फॉरेन इनकम?
Indian.
This is an Indian income. Why? Because आज के ही दिन के रिवीजन सेशन में हम लोग ने डिस्कस किया था कैपिटल गेन्स फ्रॉम वन प्रॉपर्टी, capital gain from sale of a property or shares, then in that case वो income deemed to accrue or arise in India हो जाएगा, and that is why it will become an Indian income. And for since it is an Indian income, for ROR, for RNOR and for NR, for everyone this will become taxable. इसके लिए ना, if you are watching this lecture on the screen, like on the laptop screen, I want you to take a photo of this part. And keep this in front of you. Okay. Okay, we know that it is an Indian income. It will be taxable for ROR also, RNOR also, NR also. What will you write in the working note? You will write in the working note like this: the short-term capital gains on sale of shares of an Indian company will be considered as income deemed to accrue or arise in India. That's it. And since it is an Indian income, it will be taxable for ROR, RNOR, NR. In such questions, working note is very important. If there is no working note, examiner will assume that तूने तुक्का मारा है, मतलब you don't know the reason of this. Okay, so ये प्रॉब्लम ज़्यादा CMA स्टूडेंट्स को नहीं आएगा, because they have MCQ based. अगर एग्जाम होगा तो मतलब you never know in case of CMA what happens in the next exam. So if it is an MCQ based exam, then in that case no problem at all. अगर MCQ नहीं होगा and if they give you the space to write, I want you to write the reasoning of this in the next exam for all the CMA students who are attending my lecture, right? Okay, so first point सबको clear है, तीनों के लिए taxable होगा. Why? Because it is an Indian income. Second, dividend from Japanese company received in Japan. You think only from, okay, first of all, whether this is an Indian income or foreign income. Now you have understood the first step to identify. कैसे देखना कैसे, ये मेरा फॉरेन इनकम है, ठीक है. नाउ तेरा ये खोल, फॉरेन इनकम है तो तेरा फोटो खोल, फोटो में क्या लिखा है फॉरेन इनकम के सामने? आर वर्क के लिए हमेशा टैक्स होगा, एनआर के लिए कभी भी टैक्स नहीं होगा, एंड आर एन ओ आर के लिए, फॉर आर एन ओ आर ओनली 2 फॉरेन इनकम्स आर टैक्सेबल. वन, दैट बिजनेस विच इज सेट कंट्रोल्ड फ्रॉम इंडिया, and profession which is set up in India. So is this income, that is this kind of income is falling under those 2 parts? Business set up in India, profession set up in India? No. So can I say for RNOR also it is not taxable? Everybody with me? पक्का? पर R for ROR तो taxable है ही. ROR तो आंक 1 के taxable, NR के लिए no tax and RNOR के लिए भी no tax. Perfect. ये तो हमारा 2 points clear हो गए. Point 3, rent from property in London. Okay, rent from property in London. Where is the property? London. Deposited in a bank in London. Okay, received also in London. Later on, remitted to India through approved banking channels. खतरनाक पॉइंट है ये. क्वेश्चन बहुत ज्यादा कंफ्यूज करता है लोगों को. सोचो एक बार.
It won't be taxable, no, because first only like it's received in London and not in India.
Okay, so perfect, absolutely. Here understand one thing, received in India का definition क्या है? Received in India is first received in India. So here what is happening, see, understand, first received in India मतलब क्या? For example, I am staying in London, I am receiving any income in London. So if I send that money to my parents in India, तो क्या ऐसा मानेंगे क्या कि parents के हाथ में receive हुआ, so it is an Indian income? No, right? So it is first received where? In London only. And that is why this is very important. जो income मिल रहा है, किधर मिल रहा है? लंदन में पहले मिल रहा है, उसके बाद just remit हो रहा है बाहर. Remittance is not income for my parents, right? Similarly, ये भी point वैसा ही है. Property situated in London, received also in London. After that सिर्फ remittance हुआ ना इंडिया में, it is okay. Remittance हुआ तो. So I will not assume that it is received in India. It is remitted in India, and that is why this will not be taxable for ROR also, for NR also, and for एक मिनट, sorry, एक मिनट. ये जो रेंट इन लंदन है तो ROR के लिए तो टैक्स होगा ही, because it is a foreign income. ROR के लिए तो टैक्स होगा ही, but NR and RNOR इनके लिए टैक्स होगा कि नहीं, ये क्वेश्चन है. इनके लिए टैक्स नहीं होगा. Why? Because it is a foreign income, and foreign income will be taxable only in the hands of ROR. Taxable, right? So point number 3 सबको clear है. ये जो point है ना, ये point you'll have to see on the last day. You have to see on the last day. ये ऐसे points तुम लोग लिख के रखो, ऐसे points तुम लोग mark करके रखो कि ये नहीं miss होना चाहिए last day पे, कुछ भी करके. Because we are not going to have a lot of time to refer each and every question. So we have to refer to the important adjustments on the last day. So you have to do the planning planning before the exam only. So we are doing the planning now. Okay, point 4, dividend from RP Limited, an Indian company. Of course, very easy. Indian company say dividend hai, which means Indian income. It will be taxable for all. Agricultural income from land in Gujarat.
Exempt.
Exempt. Why? Because it is an agricultural land. अगर यही Canada होता तो agricultural income from land in Canada, then it will be taxable, because agricultural income outside India received from a land which is situated outside India, it will be taxable. सिर्फ Indian agricultural income पे टैक्स नहीं लगता है. परफेक्ट है, ये तेरा पॉइंट नंबर ई हो गया. सो ये पॉइंट नंबर ई, एग्रीकल्चरल इनकम विल बी एग्जेम्प्ट फॉर ऑल द 3. परफेक्ट, पक्का. ओके, नाउ इसमें कुछ ज्यादा लिखने जैसा है नहीं, एज सच कुछ लिखने जैसा है नहीं, बट देयर इज वन पॉइंट हियर. रेंट फ्रॉम प्रॉपर्टी है ना, रेंट फ्रॉम प्रॉपर्टी. इधर बहुत लोग ये मिस आउट करेंगे, सॉरी इधर है ना, ये बहुत लोग मिस आउट करेंगे कि रेंट फ्रॉम प्रॉपर्टी मतलब ये हाउस प्रॉपर्टी बनता है. एंड सिंस इट इज अ हाउस प्रॉपर्टी, you get 30% standard deduction. अंडरस्टैंडिंग, तो ये पॉइंट मिस आउट हो सकता है, एंड दैट इज व्हाई माय आंसर we understood that it is not tax for ROR. This will be taxable. We saw na, for ROR this will be taxable, but for ROR के लिए what will be taxable? 75,000? No, 75,000 minus 30%. टैक्स में लोग फेल क्यों होते मालूम है? नॉट बिकॉज दे डोंट अंडरस्टैंड द कॉन्सेप्ट, दे फेल बिकॉज दे डू सिली मिस्टेक्स, एंड सिली मिस्टेक्स ये होने बिल्कुल भी अननेचुरल नहीं है, बहुत नेचुरल है होना. You need to be very careful with everything, and that is why you should have that exposure of the questions, new questions. अभी ये देखने के बाद ना, अभी मैंने पहले क्यों नहीं बताया 75,000? बिकॉज मैं बताता तुम लोग सिर्फ सुनते, उसके बाद मुझे तुम लोग को रियलाइज करके देना था, अच्छा अरे ये तो मैं भूल ही गया था. तो ये थोड़ा सा रियलाइजेशन होना इंपॉर्टेंट है. तो ये हमेशा याद रखना, प्रॉपर्टी आने के बाद हमेशा 30% वी विल टेक अ डिडक्शन. एवरीबॉडी कूल? पक्का? ओके, इसका सच कुछ नहीं लिखा तो भी चलेगा. तो एक नया पॉइंट इधर हम लोग ने सीखा, दैट इज पॉइंट नंबर सी, एक्सट्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट. नाउ हियर फ्रॉम दिस क्वेश्चन व्हाट डिड वी लर्न? फ्रॉम दिस क्वेश्चन वी लर्न हाउ टू tackle such questions. Like first we have to first identify whether this is Indian income or foreign income. पहले वो समझो, उसके बाद आगे का तुम लोग को आ जाता है. Okay, so we learned from this question. अभी हम लोग आगे जाते हैं क्वेश्चन नंबर 7 पे. एक इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है, थोड़ा अलग क्वेश्चन है. ओके, एक काम करते हैं, सिमिलर क्वेश्चन पहले करते हैं. ओके, कैन एवरीबॉडी कीप द वीडियोस ऑन? थोड़ा अभी मजा आएगा. Illustration 8. Compute the total income in the hands of an individual aged 35 years, being resident and ordinary resident, RNOR and NR for assessment year 22 23. I want you to be super active on the chat. Don't unmute yourself. Just tell me whether for ROR, RNOR, NR it will be taxable or not taxable. That's it. Just be active on the chat. मैं जितना पूछता हूं उतना ही बताओ सिर्फ, ठीक है? Point number 1. Interest on UK development bonds, 50% of interest is received in India. I'm just talking about ROR right now. Just wait for a minute. For ROR, everything is taxable. So we are not required to think about ROR. So can I say here it is going to be 10,000? No problem. Okay. After that, interest on UK development bonds, 50% of interest is received in India. For RNOR, can you tell me in the chat? First, you need to identify whether there is any Indian income or any foreign income. पहले वो identify करो. Interest आया UK bond से, ठीक है? ये it is not accrued in India, but it is received in India. 50% of interest is received in India, which means can I say there is some Indian income accrued in India, received in India? Accrued तो नहीं हो रहा है because UK development bond है, पर receive तो हो रहा है 50%. So which means 10,000 interest तो है, पर उसमें से can I say 5,000 is received in India? Yes, and that is why 5,000 is an Indian income. अभी 5,000 Indian income है, तो definitely ये इसको 5,000 tax लग जाएगा, और NR के लिए भी 5,000 tax लग जाएगा. Because it is an Indian income. First try to identify Indian income कौन सा है और कितना है. Okay, no problem. We have a lot of questions to practice. गलत गया तो भी problem नहीं है. Income from a business in Chennai, 50% received in India. Entire amount will be taxable for all. So can I say 20, 20, 20? Because it is an Indian income, because business किधर था? Chennai में था. Right? Third, short-term capital gains on sale of shares of an Indian company received in London. Indian company से capital gain generate हुआ, इसका मतलब, can you tell me in the chat what will be the answer? Perfect. Everything will be taxable. So this will be 20, 20, 20. If I ask you what is the reason, what will you write? Will you write it is accrued in India? No, you will write it is deemed to accrue in India, deemed to be accrued in India. Because point number 3, if you remember, point number 3 is talking about this only. आज ही हम लोग ने किया, आज का point number 2. Okay, so it is deemed to be accrued in India. Perfect. The reason should be this: if you write accrued in India, they will understand that this is wrong. They will not give you marks, even though the answer is right. Okay, so इसका सिर्फ one liner लिखना है नीचे. That's it. Dividend from British company received in London. For RNOR and NR, what will be the case? Perfect. This will not be taxable in India. NR के लिए तो सवाल ही नहीं है. RNOR के लिए there are only 2 situations where for RNOR it is taxed. So this point dividend is not falling under those 2 exceptions, and that is why it will be exempt for RNOR also. But can I say for ROR it will be taxable? ROR के लिए just don't think it is always taxable. Long-term capital gains on sale of plant at Germany. Sale of plant at Germany, 50% of the profits are received in India, not remitted. See, if they see remitted, then it's a different thing. They are saying received in India. Okay, for ROR, can somebody tell me? Perfect.
40,000.
Perfect. It will be taxable. Entire amount will be taxable because 50% उसके लिए तो क्या इंडियन इनकम फॉरेन इनकम दोनों टैक्सेबल है ना, तो इसलिए इधर पूरा 40,000 टैक्स हो जाएगा. But for the other two, can I say only 20 and 20 will be taxable?
Yes.
Perfect. सही है, थोड़ा प्रैक्टिस हो रहा है. Next, income earned from business in Germany, which is controlled from Delhi. आराम से. Income earned from business in Germany, which is controlled from Delhi. We'll think only from ROR's perspective. ROR के लिए ये पहले देखते हैं कि इंडियन इनकम कितना है एंड फॉरेन इनकम कितना है. ROR के लिए क्या देखने का जरूरत है क्या?
No.
Oh,
Are we
sir.
required to check for ROR whether it is Indian income
No,
or
sir.
foreign income? No. And that is why entire amount of 70,000 will be taxable in the hands of ROR. Next, I will discuss in case of non-resident. In case of a non-resident income, मैं specifically ये point बोला था, अभी mistake नहीं करना चाहिए. जो कल बैठे थे, specifically मैंने एक point बोला था. Income earned from business in Germany, which is controlled from Delhi for a non-resident. Can you tell me in the chat? Okay, taxable है, कितना taxable होगा? For a non-resident, NR. Yes, understand. मैंने वही कल तुम लोग को बोला था, ये जो which is business which is controlled from Delhi है, which is India, controlled from India, even though this is given, मैं तुम लोग को तभी भी बोला था ये देंगे वो लोग specifically non-resident के लिए. Non-resident के लिए देने के बाद, even though it is controlled from India, it is not taxable for a non-resident. For a non-resident, entire amount will not be taxable. Only the amount which is received in India, that will be taxable. ये जो controlled वाला point है ना, controlled वाला point is applicable only in case of RNOR. Only in case of RNOR, not for a non-resident. And that is why if you ask me what will be the answer for RNOR, I will say 40,000 is Indian income, 30,000 foreign income, but that 30,000 ka foreign income will be taxable in India for RNOR because it is such a business which is getting controlled from India. So here, जो नए लोग हैं, मतलब आज जिन्होंने अटेंड किया, जिनको नहीं समझ रहा है ये पॉइंट, डोंट वरी, कल का जो ये पॉइंट है, जो स्पेसिफिकली जो ये पॉइंट है, जस्ट रेफर टू दैट पॉइंट इन द रिकॉर्डिंग, यू विल अंडरस्टैंड. In that recording, I have specifically mentioned about this point only. So if you refer to that recording, you'll understand. Okay, don't worry if you have not understood this. So here it will be 70,000. Why? Because 40,000 Indian income and 30,000 foreign income. And here only 40,000 will be taxable for non-resident. Perfect. Now, whenever you'll get this question bank, मैंने जैसे बनाया ना ROR, RNOR, NR, you also make if the space allows you to make such a big table. But अगर तुम लोग ने ये table बनाया, don't write anything by your pen. Just use pencil to solve this, because I want you to try this every time. If you write it by pen, then you will just read the answers. I don't want you to read the answers. I want you to solve this every time. ठीक है, everybody? Okay. Next, profits from a business in Delhi, but managed entirely from London. Profits from business in Delhi, business in Delhi, Indian income, खेल खत्म. Business in Delhi, Indian income, it will be taxable for all, which means 15, 15, 15. Perfect. Income from house property in London, deposited in a bank at London, brought to India, computed. Okay. Can you guess this? In the chat. Okay, first of all, why they have given computed? We have to understand this. Whenever they will say computed, they are not expecting you to reduce 30% standard deduction. Basically, सब deduction मार के उन्होंने 50,000 आंसर लाया है. So don't deduct 30% of standard deduction which we usually we get in house property. जैसा हम लोग ऊपर के सम में किया था हम लोग ने. Over there, computed was not written. So your computed is written. And that is why don't reduce 30%. So 50,000. Yes. सोचो आराम से and just tell me in the chat. Perfect. So basically, for ROR, we are not required to think about anything. Since the global income is taxable, entire 50,000 is going to be taxable for ROR. But for RNOR, definitely the first time where it was received, it was in London. It wasn't remitted to India, and that is why it is not considered as Indian income, and that's why for RNOR it is not taxable. And for NR also, with the same reason, it is not taxable. Why? Because for RNOR and NR, this is the foreign income. Basically, for all, it is a foreign income. But for ROR, foreign income and Indian income, both are taxable. That's why 50,000 will be taxable for ROR.
So,
Yeah, 1 minute, I just. Interest on debentures in an Indian company received in London. Interest on debentures in an Indian company, khel khatam, 12,000 taxable for all. Because Indian income. Right? थोड़ा अभी ग्रिप आ जाएगा तुम लोग को इंडियन इनकम फॉरेन इनकम. तो फर्स्ट यू हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई इंडियन या फॉरेन. फीस फॉर टेक्निकल सर्विस रेंडर्ड इन इंडिया बट रिसीव्ड इन लंडन. फीस फॉर टेक्निकल सर्विसेज रेंडर्ड इन इंडिया, खेल खत्म. Rendered in India, accrued in India, 8,000 taxable for all. Profits from a business in Mumbai managed from London. Profits from a business in Mumbai managed from London. First of all, Indian, बाकी पहले सोचो ही मत. ROR, RNOR सोचो ही मत. पहले सोचो Indian income है, foreign income है. It is an Indian income. It is an Indian income. And that is why Indian income है तो सबके लिए taxable हो जाएगा. Superb. Income from property situated in Nepal. नेपाल इंडिया में आता है क्या? नहीं आता है. Income from property situated in Nepal received there. मतलब ये पहले मालूम होना चाहिए ज्योग्राफी थोड़ा सा. जो लोग बोलते हैं ना ज्योग्राफी का आगे जाके क्या फायदा होगा, इधर टैक्स में CMA फायदा होगा, CMA में फायदा होगा, CS में फायदा होगा, ये सब चीजों पे फायदा हो सकता है. नेपाल इज नॉट इन इंडिया. Income from property situated in Nepal received there, computed. अभी वापस कंप्यूटेड लिखा, मतलब 30% वी आर नॉट रिक्वायर्ड टू रिड्यूस. It is not an Indian income. It is a foreign income, right? If it is a foreign income, ROR के लिए क्या हमेशा लटकता है वो, तो 16,000 taxable. Not taxable. बराबर है. Next, बढ़ो आगे. very important. I will mark this. Past foreign untaxed income brought to India during the previous year. Am I receiving anything in India in the current year? Usually income tax is paid in the year in which it is earned, right? So am I earning anything? I'm not earning anything. So can I say for ROR, RNOR, NR, kisi ke liye bhi it will not be taxable? Because it is brought in India, it is not earned or anything. It is past untaxed profits. Then you will get emotional. Arey, for the government, this income पे कभी tax गया ही नहीं. तो ये टाइम हम लोग टैक्स पे करेंगे. अरे क्यों ज्यादा दिमाग लगा रहे हो? It is earned in that year. He did not pay tax. Does not mean that whenever you'll repatriate that amount in India, you will pay tax to Indian government. It doesn't make any sense, right? And that is why this will not be taxable for anyone. ROR के लिए भी नहीं, RNOR के लिए भी नहीं, और NR के लिए भी नहीं. This is a very unusual situation where something is not taxable for ROR. Because usually everything is taxable. So there is a possibility this point can come in the exam. ठीक है? So ये not taxable, not taxable. Yeah, 1 minute. Income from agricultural land in Nepal, again Nepal is not in India, received there and then brought to India. Again the same logic. Okay, can you tell me for ROR whether this will be taxable or not taxable? सोच के बताओ in the chat. For ROR, whether this will be taxable. एग्रीकल्चरल लैंड है, मैं जस्ट ऐसे बोल रहा हूँ, एग्रीकल्चरल लैंड है. Absolutely right. This will be taxable for ROR because that agricultural land is situated outside India. And for ROR, कुछ भी आजू बाजू नहीं देखेंगे, it will be taxable. So here, this is going to be taxable. Okay, for NR and RNOR and NR, it will not be taxable for RNOR and NR because it is not an Indian income, right? So ये पूरा का पूरा not taxable. It is brought in India, it is not received in India. Brought in India, so remit किया पैसा. Perfect. Everybody got the difference between remitted to India and received in India. Perfect. Income from profession in Kenya, which was set up in India, received there but spent in India. क्या लिखा है? एक मिनट. Income from profession in Kenya, which was set up in India, received in Kenya but spent in India. माँ कसम. Okay, first, whether this will be Indian income or foreign income. Okay, for ROR, can I just write taxable?
Yes.
5,000. Okay, then RNOR. Okay, first we'll talk from NR's perspective. Income from profession Kenya, which was set up in India, received that. Again, the similar question has come for non-resident. Exactly. Same question किया ऊपर हम लोग ने. For a non-resident, even though the business is set up in India, it will not be taxable. Okay, so here it will be 0. But can I say for RNOR something will come? Something matlab 5,000 because the profession was set up in India. And such foreign incomes are taxable for RNOR. ठीक है? Next, gift received on the occasion of his wedding. 20,000. Can I say wedding पे मिला है तो everything will be 0 because 50,000 से कम है, so it will not be taxable. Interest on savings 50,000 क्या बोल रहा हूँ? Wedding पे मिला है तो कुछ भी tax नहीं होगा, किसी से भी मिला तो भी. Okay, even if I receive that income from Devi, or maybe gift from Devi, it will not be taxable for me, even though she gave me 2 crore rupees. Still, interest on savings bank deposit in SBI. Interest on savings bank deposit in SBI, 12,000 rupees. Perfect. It will be fully taxable for all because the income is getting generated from India. So it will be 12,000, 12,000, 12,000 पर एक चीज चमकनी चाहिए. Interest from savings bank, interest from savings bank, interest in savings, interest on savings bank, 80 tatta, 80 tatta, 80 tatta, 80 TTA. 80 TTMA, you get a deduction of 10,000 rupees. But here you will not write 2,000. You will write 12,000, you will add it to GTI, and then you will reduce what? Chapter 6 deductions, 80 TTA. Right? Okay. Income from a income from a business in Russia, controlled from Russia. Not taxable for RNOR and NR. But it will be taxable for ROR. Right? Because ROR हमेशा लटकता है. Dividend from Reliance Petroleum Limited, an Indian company, it will be taxable for all. Agricultural income from a land in Rajasthan, 15,000, land in Rajasthan, it will be exempt for all. This is how you will present in the answer sheet also. मतलब ये 3 columns निकाल के you will just add everything. You will write gross total income. You will get the figure, and you will reduce what? Chapter 6A deduction. इसमें we know it is 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. We'll get the answer of this. Understood how to present? Like this presentation will not be necessary right now. We are not required to write this presentation right now because it is not that necessary, because इसमें कुछ practice का requirement नहीं है. इधर सीधा format we know, right? Do you want to write this? Because this does not require any presentation as such. You have to just write the particulars, 3 columns. You'll get GTI. GTI से सीधा क्या करना है? Chapter 6 deduction. That's it. Right?
Sir?
Yeah. Okay. There's one question which was asked in May 21, RTP May 21, revision test papers. Mr. Dhruv, a person of Indian origin and citizen of country X. Again, Mr. Dhruv, a person of Indian origin and a citizen of country X, got married to Miss Deepa, an Indian citizen residing in country X. Mr. Dhruv Indian citizen है, Indian origin है, country X का citizen है, married to Miss Deepa, who is an Indian citizen residing in country X. ठीक है. On 4th Feb 2021 and came to India for the first time on 22/2021. Okay, what is happening now? What is happening? Mr. Dhruv got married to one person on 4th Feb 21 and he came to India for the first time on 22/2021. Okay, well, can I say for the past 9 years, 10 years, 11 years, 34 years, he was not there in India? Basically, he came to India for the first time, right? So, okay. He left for the country X on 12th August 2021, which means he was there in India from 22/2021 till 12th August 2021. Okay. He returned to India again on 21/2022 with his wife to spend some time with his parents-in-law for 30 days and thereafter returned to country X on 18/2022. Now, yes, if na, you cannot just read and understand the question. You'll have to jot it down jot down certain points. He received the following gifts from his relatives and friends of her wife during financial year 21/22 in India. From parents of wife, 1,01,000. From married sister of wife, 11,000. From very close friend of his wife, 2,82,000. Very close friends of his wife. उसको कितना मिला? 2,82,000. The parents of wife giving 1 lakh. Married sister is giving 11,000. But very close friend of his wife is giving 2,82,000. मतलब there has to be something very interesting between them. So determine his residential status and compute the total income chargeable to tax along with the amount of tax payable on such income for the assessment year 21-22, which means financial year 21-22. Assessment year 22-23, sorry, and financial year 21-22. Will your answer change if he has received 16 lakhs instead of 2,82? बहुत संबंध गहरा होता जा रहा है, right? So if he receives 16 lakhs instead of 2,82 from very close friends of his wife during 21-22, and he stayed in India for 400 days during the 4 years preceding the previous year 21-22. Sir, what is this? अब तक सब कुछ अच्छा था residential status में, but this question is something different. So we have to see such questions only, and we have to solve such questions only. First of all, let's identify what is asked. Determine the residential status. ठीक है, residential status निकालना है for financial year 21-22. Residential status निकालना है for 21-22. First of all, we need to understand for how many days he was in India for financial year 21-22. Can you tell me? थोड़ा ट्राई करो अपने एंड से. I will give you 2 minutes to think over it. The answer is written here in this para. My question is, for financial year 21-22, Mr. Dhruv was there in India for how many days? Dhruv का taxability देख रहे हैं हम. Jot down the points. Now, most of you guys will do this common mistake, and you are doing this common mistake. See, even though that person is coming in India on 22-2021, will you start that computation from 20-2021?
No.
You will not start the computation from 20-2021. Why? Because that financial year is different. We have to consider the number of days of stay in India for financial year 21-22, right? So we have to start our computation from 1/4/2021. Even though he is coming on 22-2021, आने दे उसको, वो last financial year में हम लोग consider करेंगे उसके residential status के लिए. But for this year's residential status, we will consider from 1/4/2021. So 1/4/2021. So till 12th August 2021. So April में कितना आता है? 30 days. May में 31. June में 30. July में 31. Plus, can I say 12? He was there in India for 12 days.
11 days, yeah.
12, no? Why 11?
12.
12th August है ना?
We won't consider not 12 hours.
We will, na? अरे start date and end date we have to consider both. The start
So,
date is
but that
20.
will be only in case of CDC, no?
No. See, that is CDC के तो केस में है ही. But along with that, इसके केस में भी है ही ना, start date and end date, date of departure and date of arrival. Both should be considered.
So I
Got
didn't
it?
get this one. How will we come to know? that we have to consider?
12th August भी consider करना है इसमें.
So for basically all the cases, we have to consider start
All the
date and
cases, start date and end date should be considered. Yes. Got it? So if we consider 12 days, I'll get the answer of 134 days. But 134 तो ये period में. But he again came to India for 30 days. If you remember, if you see in the month of Jan, he's coming to India for 30 days. So can I say 134 plus 30 if I do, I will get the answer of 164 days in India.
Yes.
Everyone. सबको समझ रहा है? झलक understood? Okay. So 134 first जो visit किया उसने उस पे plus 30 days in Jan. So which means he's there in India for 164 days. Okay. Now he is coming into India. What is the purpose? One thing should click in your mind. Coming into India मतलब he can fall under that आने वाला exception. That person is coming into India for visit. उसके लिए there has to be two conditions. One point to be considered. One, he should be Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin. Now Dhruv is not an Indian citizen because he is a citizen of country X. But can I say he's an Indian origin? So that is why he is an Indian origin coming into India for visit. For visit. In this case, he will fall under the second exception. What is the exception? The second basic condition will not be applicable for him. Ekdam proper. But usme bhi we had seen one more thing, that if your Indian income other than foreign sourced income, that is your Indian income, is more than 15 lakh rupees, then in that case, the second basic condition will revive with some alteration. What is that alteration? कैसे दिखेगा पूरा condition? First basic condition तो 182 days वैसे ही दिखेगा. Second basic condition में पहले क्या था? 60 days in the current year and 365 days in the last 4 years. But here 60 days के जगह पे क्या दिखेगा? 120 days दिखेगा. Right? Okay. Now in the first situation now we need to identify what is his Indian income. Right? So income के क्या points दिए? Okay, इधर तक सबको clear है क्या? Everybody's video is off, so I'm not able to understand whether you're clear or no. At least tell me in the chat whether you're clear. Great. Now I need to identify the Indian income. Now income के लिए I have only 3 points. One, जो मुझे gifts मिला है वो 3 points है. Point number 1, मुझे gift मिला है किससे? From parents of wife के parents से. Now we need to identify वो parents की wife जो है, wife की जो parents है, whether they are falling under the definition of relative, because gift मिला है. So 56 to 10 we'll have to identify. Definition of relative में parents आ जाते हैं, wife के parents आ जाते हैं, and that is why this entire amount is going to be exempt in my hands. It is not taxable. Second, married sister of wife, this will also get covered under the definition of relative. This will also be exempt. But third, उनका जो special relation है ना, वो special relation 56 to 10 में cover नहीं किया है. 56 to 10 has not covered this special relation. Very close friend of his wife. So इससे कितना मिला मुझे? I got 2,82,000. So can I say this will be taxable in my hands, in Dhruv's hands? Why? Because the amount is more than 50,000. Yes. सबको clear है ये part? पक्का? Everybody?
Sir, relative wala, what was the provision?
56 to 10. Relative का definition you are saying?
नहीं मतलब relative का exempt होता है.
हाँ, 56 to 10 में whatever income I'm receiving from a relative, this will be exempt from tax now. IFOS,
Yes.
right? So that will be exempt. So Crow's friend of his wife, जो 2,82,000 मिला, that will be taxable. Okay. So in my case, is my taxable income more than 15 lakhs? Is my taxable income more than 15 lakhs? No. For me, the taxable income is only 2,82,000. only 2,82,000, right? Since my Indian income is not more than 15 lakh rupees, in the first situation, I will not fall under that exception ka exception. Please try to understand this. I will not fall under that exception to exception ka exception, which means, can I say, for me, the second basic condition will not be applicable.
Yes, sir.
People who are attending this for the first time, this is the first day, please try to watch the yesterday's recording. तो उसमें अच्छे से मैंने explain किया है. Don't worry अगर आपको याद नहीं होगा तो, but जिनको याद है, जिन्होंने कल अटेंड किया है, उनके लिए 15 लाख से ऊपर नहीं जा रहा है, then in that case second basic condition जो रिवाइव होके 120 डेज होने वाला था, वो कौन सी केस में होता है? व्हेन माय इंडियन इनकम इज मोर देन 15 lakhs. इन द प्रेजेंट केस माय इंडियन इनकम इज नॉट मोर देन 15 lakhs. ये थोड़ा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड हो रहा है. एवरीबडी, मानसी, दीक्षा, सिद्धि, जस्मिता, अन्वय, ओके, श्रुति,
Yes, sir.
see, this was the exception. Agar if any Indian citizen or foreign citizen who is a person of Indian origin coming into India for visit, then for him the second basic condition will not be applicable. But if that person's Indian income is more than 15 lakhs, then the second basic condition will get revived with some alteration. What is the alteration? Current year जो उधर 60 days and 365 थे, इधर 120 and 365 हो जाएगा. But when my total income, total Indian income is more than 15 lakhs, तभी revive होगा ना. If my Indian income is not more than 15 lakhs, can I say I will fall under this? And if I'm falling under this, my second basic condition is not applicable for me. Because revival के लिए मेरा income should be more than 15 lakhs. My income is not more than 15 lakhs in the present case. And that is why the second basic condition will not get revived. I will still stay here only. And what is this? Second basic condition not applicable. At least जिन्होंने कल अटेंड किया था उनको समझा क्या पॉइंट है? ओके, ग्रेट.
हाँ, sir.
Great. So can I say residential status तो हम लोग ने identify किया उसका. So second basic condition is not applicable. Can I say so? Second basic condition applicable नहीं है, मतलब there is only one basic condition which he has to fulfill. Yes. So what is that one basic condition? 182 days. Is he staying in India for more than or equal to 182 days? He is not staying in India for equal to or more than 182 days, and that is why he will be considered as a non-resident. ये हम लोग लिखने वाले, don't worry. Perfect. Everybody with me? उन्होंने और एक चीज पूछा है. Will your answer change if he has received 16 lakhs instead of 2,82,000 from very close friend of his wife during previous year 21-22, and he stayed in India for 400 days during 4 years preceding the previous year? This point is telling you, this point is giving you so many hints that you have to go to that point and you have to consider everything. You will get the answer. What is this? Thus this person is saying that 16 lakhs अगर मुझे मिले, ये जो 2,82,000 है, इसकी जगह पे अगर मैं 16 lakhs मिले, can I say 16 lakhs will be taxable in my hands? Why? Because more than 50,000 gift मिला. If it is more than 50,000 मुझे gift मिला है 16 lakhs का मतलब, can I say 16 lakhs will be taxable income? Yes. मतलब my Indian income is more than 15 lakhs. अभी बाकी everything is the same, no? I am such a person of Indian origin coming into India for visit. For me, as per this understanding, for me, the second basic condition is not applicable. But if my total Indian income is more than 15 lakhs, then in that case, the second basic condition will get revived with some alteration. The alteration is what? The alteration is 60 के जगह पे 120 करना है. That's it. Perfect. So ये अभी हम लोग आइडेंटिफाई करेंगे कि अभी मेरे पास कौन से कंडीशन सेटिस्फाई करने के लिए है. मेरे पास ये कंडीशन से सेटिस्फाई करने के लिए 182 days or more. Is he staying in India for equal to or more than 182 days? No, he's staying in India for 164 days. Point number 2, second basic condition will be applicable, but 120 and 365 wala. Is he staying in India for more than 120 days? Yes, he
Yes.
is staying in India for more than 120 days. Yes, but दूसरा भी condition है 365 days वाला. In the last 4 years, he should be staying in India for at least 365 days. इसका भी information उन्होंने नीचे दे दिया. He stayed in India for 400 days during 4 years preceding the previous year. Which means, can I say he's fulfilling the second basic condition?
Yes.
Which means, if that gift amount is 16 lakh rupees, his residency status will change. इसीलिए ऐसे लोगों से गिफ्ट नहीं लेने का. You should not take gift from wife's relative. You will become a resident person and global income will be taxable in your hands. So you should not take gifts. So Modi ji is also discouraging. You know, क्या height देखा तुम लोगों ने? Modi ji also discouraging कि do not take any gifts from your wife's best friend. So it is like that. So in this case, your income will be taxable. You will become a resident person in India. And they have not given anything about ROR, RNOR. So I think इधर तक भी हम लोग ने आइडेंटिफाई किया. उसके बाद हम लोग देखते हैं आगे क्या करना है. अंडरस्टूड एवरीबडी? ओके, सी अभी कैसे लिखना है. अभी ये आने के बाद क्वेश्चन पहले तो वी आर नॉट अंडरस्टैंडिंग हाउ टू रीड. आफ्टर दैट वी आर नॉट अंडरस्टैंडिंग हाउ टू सॉल्व. उसके बाद क्वेश्चन आता है कि हाउ टू राइट. सो वो तो बहुत बहुत दूर की बात है हाउ टू राइट. बट इफ सच क्वेश्चन कम्स, no need to get scared. But this question can come for CS students. I'm saying specifically why, because this had come in RTP revision test papers, and specifically ये point इतना जबरदस्त लगा मुझे कि यार ये point ना आ सकता है एग्जाम में. और आया तो मस्त 2 मिनट डांस करने का, उसके बाद आंसर लिखने का, because we know the answer, right? See, बहुत simple language में I have written this. If any person who is a person of Indian origin comes to India for visit, he would be considered as resident only when he stays in India for 182 days or more. Now, I have written this in a short manner. तेरे पास और एक ऑप्शन था. Otherwise, तू क्या लिखता मालूम है? If you want to become a resident, there are 2 basic conditions. Basic condition number 1, basic condition number 2. But in certain cases, second basic condition is not applicable. तो इतना क्यों टाइम पास करना है? सीधा बोलना, if any person is coming into India for visit, he would be considered as resident only when he stays in India for 182 days or more. Now this point, you will understand this point by solving some questions only. You will not understand this by just reading the provisions or maybe by just solving one question. You should get that knack of writing the answer. और यही मुझे तुम लोग से चाहिए. ठीक है? ओके, तुम लोग को समझा मैंने कितना स्मार्टली ये ड्राफ्ट किया है फर्स्ट पॉइंट, सो दैट आई एम कवरिंग एवरीथिंग इन दिस पॉइंट इन अ शॉर्ट मैनर. ओके, उसके बाद however, if his income other than foreign sourced income, if his income other than foreign sourced income is more than 15 lakhs, then he would be considered as a resident if he satisfies any one of the conditions. वापस पढ़ो. However, agar his income other than foreign sourced income is more than 15 lakhs, basically Indian income is more than 15 lakhs, then he would be considered as resident if he satisfies any one of the conditions. नीचे मैंने conditions डाल दिए. Stay in India for 182 days or more in the current year. Stay in India for 120 days or more in the current financial year, and stay in India for 365 days or more in 4 preceding financial years. एक बार देखो मैंने कैसे लिखा है. I could have just asked you to write everything which you know about residential status in the answer sheet, but you will not have that much time in the question paper, in the exam. Because see, if you are giving this exam for the second time, unfortunately, then you will realize one thing that you must have realized one thing, that you don't have time in tax paper. टाइम ही नहीं रहता है बिकॉज एमसीक्यूज मैक्सिमम टाइम लेके जाता है एमसीक्यूज टेक द मैक्सिमम टाइम ऑफ योर्स and that is you don't get time, so that's why we have to be very crisp in writing the answers. Okay, can everybody tell me that whether you are clear with this? Siddhi, Diksha, Jasmitha, Mansi, Anvay,
Yes, sir.
Yuti,
Yes, sir.
Mohammad.
Yes, sir.
Okay, see, I know this question is a bit different, but don't be scared of such questions. You know, these questions can come in the exam. That's why I'm solving. तो मुझे गाली मत दो कि सर कैसे questions करवा के ले रहे. So ऐसे questions आ सकते हैं. That's why I'm doing these questions. Don't get scared. You know, now you know this question, so कुछ tension नहीं है. Okay, now if you remember, if he satisfies any one condition, हम लोग ने कल भी डिस्कस किया था, ऐसे जब भी केसेस होते हैं, and if he satisfies any one condition, he will directly become what? RNOR. He directly becomes RNOR, right? So इसीलिए ना इधर कुछ ROR RNOR आइडेंटिफाई करने का भी रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है. He will directly become what? RNOR. ये मेरे नोट्स में भी स्पेसिफिकली ये एडिशनल कंडीशन में लिखा है. परफेक्ट. In the present case, Dhruv has stayed in India for the following days. Now we'll compute this. We already computed this 164 days. Right? Perfect. Now income other than foreign sourced income is 16 lakhs. अभी मैंने directly second point पे jump किया because वो important है. Income other than foreign income is 16 lakhs since it is more than 15 lakhs and he is staying in India for more than 122 days and less than 182 days, he will be considered as RNOR in India. Basically, he is, मैं थोड़ा redraft करता हूँ, since it is more than 15 lakhs, Indian income is more than 15 lakhs and stayed in India for more than 120 days and less than 182 days and was staying for more than 365 days for past 4 years. He is satisfying second basic condition. Therefore, he is RNOR. गया क्या कुछ दिमाग में? Okay, so this is how you should write the answer. I want to ask you whether you are clear with this. I'm asking this multiple times because थोड़ा अलग question
Yes,
था. Nice. After that, if you
Yes,
read the
sir.
question, no, at least you will understand how to approach the question. Like कैसे दिखना है, क्या करना है. Of course, थोड़े questions अलग होते हैं. तो ये उसमें से एक question था. Okay, consider yourself lucky that you have seen this question before the exam. Right? Okay. Can you write this question? Write this point down.
sir.
Yes. Bolo. So people who are watching the recording, you can pause this here and go ahead. So I have written this in the first case also. You can write this. In the first case, he'll be a non-resident. In the second case, he is RNOR. Can everybody keep the videos on now? We are practicing one more question on scope of total income. Yeah, let's be super active on the chat. Mr. Ramesh and Suresh are brothers and they earned the following incomes during the financial year 21-22. Mr. Ramesh settled in Canada in the year 1996 and Mr. Suresh settled in Delhi. Compute the total income for assessment year 22-23. Now, they have not given any further information. 1996 May, that person was shifted in Canada. So can I say that Mr. Ramesh is a non-resident?
Yes.
With this sufficient, with this limited information? Yes. Mr.
Yes.
Suresh is a resident person. Okay. Okay. Now, resident, which resident? Now, he settled in Delhi. So I can assume that he's ROR because no other information is given, right? So he will be considered as NR and he will be considered as ROR, right? Okay. Anything else given? Nothing is given. Perfect. Now, I want you to try this. Interest on Canada development bonds, only 50% of interest is received in India. Now, if you can see, this question is very much similar to the earlier question, this particular point. Interest on Canada development bonds, only 50% of interest is received in India. Can you tell me in the chat without unmuting yourself? Take your time. I'll give you time to think. Perfect. So if I just think from ROR's perspective, nothing changes. Everything will be taxable for ROR, right? Everything will be taxable for ROR. So this will be 40. And for Ramesh, only 50% will be taxable. Why? Because Indian income is only 50%, right? Because it is received in India. So here I will write 17,500. Perfect. This is absolutely clear. The next point, dividend from British company received in London. First of all, whether this is Indian income or foreign income. Of course, this is foreign income, right? Because it is not accrued in India, not received in India. Since it is a foreign income, for non-resident, that foreign income will always be exempt. It will not be taxable. Perfect. So here it will be nil. But for a resident, for ROR, the entire income is going to be taxable. Here I will write 20,000. Perfect. Next point, in profits from business in Nagpur, but managed directly from London. Profits from a business in Nagpur, but managed directly from London. ये भी similar point देखा था हम लोग ने. You tell me if ROR को क्या होगा? Chat में. ROR के लिए होगा taxable 1.4 lakhs. NR के लिए क्या होगा? NR के लिए भी पूरा का पूरा taxable होगा. Why? Because this is an Indian income, right? So this will be 1 lakh. Short-term capital gain on sale of shares of an Indian company received in India. Short-term capital gain on sale of shares of an Indian company. Indian company
Fully
income
taxable.
is deemed to be accrued in India, which means it is an Indian income. If it is an Indian income, 60,000 will be taxable. 90,000 will be taxable. Income from a business in Chennai, everything will be taxable because it is an Indian income. Fees for technical services received, sorry, fees for technical services rendered in India but received in Canada. Identify first whether this is an Indian income or no. This is an Indian income, right? Fees for technical services are rendered in India. That's why this will be considered as what? Indian income. So 1 lakh will be taxable. Interest on savings bank deposit in UCO Bank, Delhi.
Fully tax.
It will be wholly taxable in interest on savings bank deposit, but savings bank ka interest hai, one thing should click, you will get 80 TTA. You will get 80 TTA. Okay, but you will add everything here in the gross total income. So 7K and 12K. ऐसे ही क्वेश्चन आने वाले हैं एग्जाम में. Agricultural income from a land situated in Andhra Pradesh. Agricultural land situated, it will be exempt. Perfect. Rent received in respect of house property at Bhopal. Rent received in respect of house property at Bhopal.
Fully.
Indian income or foreign income? Of course, this is an Indian income.
Indian income.
It is an Indian income. Why? Because it is deemed to be deemed to accrue in India. That is why it is an Indian income. If it is an Indian income, taxable for all. 1 lakh
So
and
standard.
60,000. Right?
सर
Yeah. And
30%.
इधर
सर
हाउस प्रॉपर्टी है. हाँ. तो 30. बोल.
हाँ सर वही बोलना था वहाँ पे
हाँ,
हाउस
हाँ.
प्रॉपर्टी तो अपन
Yeah, yeah.
30% माइनस
Correct. So house property है, तो you will get the standard deduction of 30% because here what is not written? Computed is not written. Since computed is not written, you will have to reduce 30% from this. Now, why did you understand this? Why did you tell me by unmuting yourself that 30% should come? Because in the last question you had forgotten. In the last question you did that mistake of not considering that. This is the beauty of doing mistakes. That's why you should make mistakes. So that in the next time, whenever you do, you'll understand that हाँ बाबा ये proper rent आया ना मतलब 30% minus करना है. This is what I want. Okay. Life insurance premium paid. Life insurance premium paid. This is what? This is ATC paid hai. It's not your income. So ATC deduction. Chapter 6A deduction 30,000 rupees. So basically ये 30,000 reduce होगा. Now, while doing this question, you must have got this feeling कि हाँ सर मालूम है अभी same question क्या वापस similar question है. Next question करो. You must have got this feeling. And why did you get this feeling? Because you were comfortable with this provision. And I want this to happen only, that I want you to get comfortable with all such questions, so that for the next time you'll see such questions, you'll be comfortable with those questions also which are difficult. So you have to make the difficult questions easy by repetitively seeing those questions. और ये तो एकदम similar question था. Same question last time जब भी तुम लोग ने किया था तभी तुम लोग को थोड़ा difficult गया था because you had committed certain mistakes, but you did not commit those mistakes this time. So you learned something from your mistakes. Okay, just मैं ज्ञान नहीं दे रहा हूँ, just I just want to tell you that mistakes are good right now. Make mistakes. Okay, ठीक है. So अपना question 3, we are going to do one question now, one question of residential status. But before that, we are going to take a quick break of 5 minutes, and then we'll start at 4:30 तक लेंगे. उसके बाद we'll end the session.
Life insurance premium, if that
So we'll try this. Question 6, May 18. Mr. Kevin, a non-resident, entered into a following transaction during the previous year 21-22. Okay, no problem. He is what? He is a non-resident. Okay, understand this. He is a non-resident. He received 20 lakhs from a non-resident for use of patent for a business in India. Again, he received 20 lakhs from a non-resident for use of a patent for a business in India. What do you understand by this? How do you implement your provisions? Which provision would be this?
When services are provided from NR1 to NR2 to NR1.
Perfect. अगर कुछ नहीं समझा ना, ऐसे कुछ दिखा नहीं हम लोग के नॉर्मल ऐसे रेसिडेंशियल स्टेटस जैसा कुछ, तो वी हैव टू कंसिडर कि वो एंड में कुछ तो होगा. सो इफ यू सी एनीथिंग रिलेटेड टू लोन, रॉयल्टी, फीस फॉर टेक्निकल सर्विसेज, नॉन रेसिडेंट, देन यू हैव टू अज्यूम दैट हाँ वो जो एंड वाला जो हम लोग ने डिस्कस किया था, वो एंड वाला ही पॉइंट इधर कंसिडर हम लोग को करना है. नाउ यू जस्ट ओपन योर बुक्स, नोटबुक्स, जिधर you had written you had drawn that particular diagram, and now you try to answer this question.
Taxable.
Okay, now the business, now we are seeing the income for Kevin, right? So we have to understand how the other non-resident utilized that amount, right? So कैसे यूटिलाइज किया फॉर बिजनेस इन इंडिया? इफ यू सी दैट चार्ट में अगर बिजनेस इंडियन के बिजनेस के लिए किया था, इन दैट केस क्या होगा आंसर? वो होगा टैक्सेबल. वो होगा टैक्सेबल. मास्टर चार्ट है वो, कुछ भी कर, कौन सा भी क्वेश्चन पूछने से तुझे आ जाएगा आंसर. पॉइंट नंबर 2, एवरीबडी क्लियर विद दिस? सौमित, मोहम्मद, आर्यन, सिद्धि,
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
ग्रेट. ओके, जस्मिता.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Second point, received foreign currency equivalent to 15 lakhs from a non-resident Indian for use of know-how for a business in Sri Lanka, and this amount was received in Korea. थोड़ा सा सोचना. Don't unmute, just you can tell me in the chat. Perfect. This will not be taxable. Why? Because there is no connection of India. There is no connection of India. Indian income के लिए accrue भी नहीं हो रहा है, receive भी नहीं हो रहा है. Nothing is related to India, and that is why this will be a foreign income, and for a non-resident, foreign income is not taxable. Right? Clear एकदम थोड़ा basics पे थोड़ा भी hold आ रहा है. Point 3, received 7 lakhs from RR Limited, an Indian company, as fees for providing technical services in India. Again, you will only solve by looking at the provisions and the chart if required. Here, we are not required to see anything where he used that fees for technical service, because fees for technical services were in India only. And that's why this will become an Indian income and it will be taxable. Right? So C भी क्या होगा? Taxable होगा. Perfect. Jabardast. Point number D, received 5 lakhs from RN Company, Mumbai, resident in India, for conducting feasibility study for a new project in Nepal, and the payment was made in Nepal. Will it be taxable for a non-resident? payment received in Nepal. Again, Nepal is not in India. It will not be taxable because services are also rendered outside India and payment was also received outside India. So that is why whatever income is received for a non-resident, it will not be taxed in India. Right? Clear? Everybody's right?
Sir, can you please explain once again this one?
Yeah. Received 5 lakhs from RN company Mumbai, resident in India. Okay. For conducting a feasibility study for a new project in Nepal. So can I say the service which I'm going to provide, I'm a non-resident, service which I'm going to provide, that is for the feasibility report in Nepal. So there is no connection in India, connection of India in this case.
Yes.
Point one. And the payment was not received in India, payment was received in Nepal. So can I say there is no connection? There is only one connection, that is that person. For example, you are in India. So only because the person who is making a payment is in India, we cannot consider that income as an Indian income.
Yes, yes, sir.
Right? To consider
Yes, sir.
that income as an Indian income, it has to be accrued in India, where in this case, this is not accrued in India because it is for the feasibility report in Nepal. And it should be received in India. In this case, it is not received in India also. It is received in Nepal. That is why it is not an Indian income. Since it is not an Indian income, it will not be taxable for a non-resident. Perfect. Point E, received 8 lakhs towards interest on monies borrowed by a non-resident for the purpose of business within India, and amount was received in Korea. It will be taxable in India. Why? Because the business was in India. So accrued in India, which means even though it is received outside India, but still business was in India, right? And that is why it will be taxable in India. Siddhi, understood? Okay, great. So now, are you comfortable with this point where taxable, not taxable, Indian income, foreign income, how to identify the transaction, right? So ये सब points थे. After the lecture, I will share one photo with you. I want you to solve that question. That question is a past paper question, but it is a bit different, not difficult at all. It is a bit different. I want you to try. If you're able to try that out, and if you get the answer, or even though it gets wrong, it is okay. But if you try to get that answer, there is a confidence बढ़ेगा that past paper questions also you are able to crack, right? So module questions and everything, RTPs के important questions I covered. So ये थोड़े questions important थे तो I covered. So basically we are done with residential status का practice. We did enough practice for residential status. If you want that we should do some more practice of residential status, then I will give you some questions. वो एक बार questions भी छोड़, question bank में जितने अलग दूसरे questions है वो एक बार कर ले, तुझे समझ जाएगा. इसके बाद I want to tell you one more thing. Whenever in the question they say that this person has come to India for the first time, you have to understand one thing, that whenever we see this point in our second basic condition, there is one point of 365 days or more in the past 4 years. This will never be applicable in his case. Basically, he will never satisfy the second basic condition. Right? Perfect ना? तो उसको सिर्फ फर्स्ट बेसिक कंडीशन ही फुलफिल करना पड़ेगा. So ये थोड़ा सा ट्रिक था. We will not identify anything, we will not think in those lines. So if we understand that he is coming for the first time, we have to assume one thing. However, for him, second basic condition is not applicable, because for in his case, past 4 साल के 365 days कभी होंगे ही नहीं in India. So he'll have to satisfy only current year का 182 days का condition. एकदम
Yes.
clear छे? एकदम clear छे?
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now we are going to go ahead with the new topic, that is house property. Easy topic, house property. Abhi I'll tell you ki how are we going to go ahead with this. Now house property ka I'm going to take a revision of house property. Of course आज के दिन में नहीं होगा. So tomorrow also I'll spend some 45-50 minutes to complete the house property revision, and then we will finish the questions of house property. Now you'll ask me, why are you spending so much time on residential status and house property? Because house property and residential status are easy and scoring. That is why I spent some good amount of time in residential status, because residential status में क्या है यार, मेरे पूरे notes में there are 6 to 7 pages total. अगर तुझे पूरा grip मिला ना residential status पे, you can get full marks in residential status by just reading 6 pages. And that is why I spent some more time on residential status. I will spend time on house property also, because I don't want you to lose marks in easy chapters. ये होने के बाद जो पीछे के 4-5 चैप्टर्स है, सेट ऑफ एंड कैरी फॉरवर्ड, क्लबिंग, बाद में डिडक्शंस, ये 3-4 चैप्टर्स के लिए आई विल आस्क यू टू रिफर टू माय वीडियो लेक्चर्स ऑनलाइन ऑन यूट्यूब. एक बार वो देख के आना. सो माय पॉइंट इज व्हाट, आई डोंट माइंड टेकिंग रिविजन्स आल्सो, बट आई वांट टू सॉल्व मोर क्वेश्चंस ऑन देम. रिविजन इज ऑलरेडी अवेलेबल ऑनलाइन, सो रिविजन तो देख सकता है, बट उसपे जो क्वेश्चंस है वो क्वेश्चंस वी विल डू इट इन द in this particular session. If you want, I can take revision also, no problem, but it will add to our days, 14-15 days जो भी हम लोग 12 से 13 दिन देने वाले हैं. So it is better कि जो इतना important नहीं है उसके लिए I will ask you to watch the recording. If you after watching the recording, here we will solve the questions, because that is more important to us. But for PGBP important chapters जो है उसके लिए तो मैं definitely इधर ही revision लूंगा. Capital gain, PGBP, I'll take the revision also and we'll solve the questions also. Everybody okay with this? Pakka? Okay, great. ठीक है. House property. चलो, अगेन कुर्सी की पेटी बांध लीजिए. राइट, ओके. इनकम फ्रॉम हाउस प्रॉपर्टी, वी आर स्टार्टिंग विथ the first head of income now, that is income from house property. Income from house property ka charging section is section number 22. That charging section says annual value of the property shall be taxable under the head income from house property. Okay, now we need to identify what is the annual value. But here there are 3 conditions. If you want to consider any income under income from house property, then you have to satisfy 3 conditions. First condition, there has to be a house property. There has to be one house property to consider any income under income from house property. Point number 1. Point number 2, you should be the owner of that house property. Of course, if I am the owner, I have the house property, and if I am earning any income from that house property, it will be taxable in my hands. So first point क्या था, house property होना चाहिए. Second point, you should be the owner of that house property. And third point, it should not be used in business or profession. It should not be used for business or profession. If these 3 conditions are satisfied, then whatever income you will earn from such house properties, that will be considered as income from house property. Now, what is the meaning of house property? Right? House property का meaning के लिए there is one condition. Condition 1 क्या था? Building and land appurtenant thereto. See, if you see here, house property मतलब क्या? There must be property consisting of any building or land appurtenant thereto. Now the question comes, what is the meaning of land appurtenant thereto? एक बिल्डिंग है, बिल्डिंग का आजू बाजू का एरिया, द सराउंडिंग एरिया ऑफ दैट बिल्डिंग, दैट लैंड इज नोन एज लैंड appurtenant thereto. Right? So that building, if I give it on rent, if I receive the rent on that, it will be income from house property. But along with the building, I gave that land appurtenant thereto on rent. So जो मुझे पैसा मिलेगा वो बिल्डिंग का भी होगा और वो लैंड का भी होगा ना. So both will be considered as house property, और दोनों से जो इनकम मिलता है वो दोनों क्या होगा, इनकम फ्रॉम हाउस प्रॉपर्टी कंसिडर करेंगे. इफ यू आस्क मी व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ हाउस प्रॉपर्टी, इट इज नॉट रिटन इन इनकम टैक्स एक्ट, बट उन्होंने थोड़ा सा इंटरप्रिटेशन किया. क्या है? एनी लैंड सराउंडेड बाय वॉल हैविंग रूफ और नॉट, एनी लैंड appurtenant टू अ बिल्डिंग will be considered as house property. ठीक है. Now building includes residential as well as commercial houses. This is a very common mistake which everybody does, that house property, if we understand, we usually say that it has to be residential. No, house property can be commercial also. For commercial purpose, if I'm giving any house property on rent. Okay, so building includes residential as well as commercial. Vacant land is not a house property, hence income from letting out of a vacant land is not income from house property. But वो किधर जाएगा? वो जाएगा income from other sources में. वो जाएगा income from other sources में, right? Incomplete, ruined or demolished house cannot be treated as house property. Land appurtenant to a building includes car parking area, approach roads, backyards. These things will be considered as land appurtenant thereto. ठीक है, थोड़ा फास्ट जाता हूं मैं अभी. Owner. Annual value of the property taxable in the hands of the owner, of course. Income from subletting is not taxable under this head. For example, if I let out my house property to Devi, and Devi is giving me 1 lakh rupees, then in that case 1 lakh rupees will be taxable in my hands under house property, because I had the house property, I was the owner of the house property. But if Devi sublets the same house property to somebody else, so whatever income she is receiving, will that be taxable under income from house property? That will not be taxable under income from house property. Why? Because she is not fulfilling the conditions. What is the first condition? There has to be house property. Yes, Devi is like, she has the house property. What is the second condition? She should be the owner of the house property. Here she is not the owner of the house property, and that is why when Devi sublets the same house property, it will not be taxable in the hands of Devi under house property, but for her it will be taxable as income from other sources. टैक्स तो होगा, गवर्नमेंट छोड़ेगा नहीं, टैक्स तो होगा, बट सिर्फ हाउस प्रॉपर्टी के अंदर टैक्स नहीं होगा, राइट? उसके बाद ओनर, इट कैन बी लीगल ओनर, बेनिफिशियल ओनर और डीम्ड ओनर. उसके बारे में हम 27 सेक्शन में चर्चा करेंगे. ही शुड बी द ओनर इन द प्रीवियस ईयर. ओनरशिप ओनली इन द असेसमेंट ईयर डज नॉट मैटर, विच मीन्स year in which I am receiving the income, I should be the owner of that particular building. In the next year, if I am not the owner, I will not be assessed for tax for that particular house property. Next point, owner of the building need not be the owner of the land. ठीक है, ownership, ये fifth point अभी के लिए ignore करना. If title of the owner is under dispute in the court, then ownership is to be determined by the tax department till the court gives its decision. इसका मतलब I am the owner and my brother is also claiming that he is the owner. Then the ownership is in dispute. Then in whose hands it will be taxable? Rental amount, my hands or my brother's hands? Then in that case, ownership is to be determined by the tax department till the order comes from the court. Perfect. Okay. उसके बाद point number 3 है use of the property. Property should not be used for business or business purpose. If it is so, income will be taxable under PGBP and not house property. राइट? उसके बाद है प्रॉपर्टीज हेल्ड एज स्टॉक इन ट्रेड. स्टॉक इन ट्रेड के बारे में मैं थर्ड या फोर्थ स्लाइड में डिस्कस करूंगा. बट आर यू क्लियर विद दिस पार्ट एटलीस्ट कि व्हाट आर द कंडीशंस एंड एवरीथिंग? श्योर, परफेक्ट. उसके बाद है फॉरेन प्रॉपर्टी. वी हैव सीन दिस. इफ द हाउस प्रॉपर्टी इज सिचुएटेड अब्रॉड, then the annual value of such property shall be taxable as, okay, if the property is situated outside India, if the property is situated outside India and if I'm receiving any income, if I am ROR, then in that case it will always be taxable in my hands because my global income is taxable, no? Okay. Next is if I am RNOR or NR, and in that case only if that income is received in India, then only it will become taxable. If you remember, scope of total income इधर यूज होगा. For RNOR and NR कौन सा income taxable होता है? If it is accrued in India or if it is received in India. This income is not accrued in India because property is situated outside India. But if it is received in India, then it will become the Indian income. Then it will be taxable for them. But if it is not received in India, then nothing will be taxable in the hands of RNOR and NR. Right? Okay. Devi, I'll just complete this, and after the lecture I'll tell you that point. Okay, perfect. उसके बाद है point composite letting का. Composite letting मतलब क्या? I have one house property. I'm giving that house property on rent, but along with the house property, I'm giving some furniture also. So whatever amount I will receive as rent, it will not be only for house property. It will be for that furniture also. This letting is known as composite letting, and this rent is known as composite rent. Now they have said that if the two lettings are separable, which means I can identify that this much income is from house property and this much rent is from furniture. If this is separable, if I've identified these two things, then जितना rent from house property है, उतना house property के अंदर tax होगा, and the proportion from other amenities है, it will be taxable under PGBP or IFOS as the case may be. If it is my business of letting out those furnitures, तो वो PGBP में जाएगा. If it is not a business of letting out those furnitures, वो IFOS में जाएगा. But two lettings are separable होंगी तो. But अगर two lettings are not separable, इसका मतलब क्या? I do not bifurcate these two incomes. I take only one income. I do not write anything in the agreement also that this is towards rent of house and this is towards rent of furniture. If two lettings are not separable, then don't take this income under income from house property. Take this income either under PGBP or under IFOS. इधर तक एकदम क्लियर है. उसके बाद एक पॉइंट पे आता है, how to compute the house property. See, if you solve any question of direct tax, you have to pay tax only on profits. You have to pay tax only on profits and not income. Okay, what is the meaning of profit? What is the difference between profit and income? Income is what? I sold this pen and I earned 1000 rupees. But to make this pen, I spent 600 rupees. So will I pay tax on 1000 or will I pay tax on 1000 minus 600? I will pay tax on 1000 minus 600. That is only 400. So can I say I considered my expenditures also? Definitely, I considered my expenditures. So under any question of income direct tax, you have to pay tax only on the profit element. So under house property also, we will first consider the rental amount. We will reduce something. We will reduce what? We will reduce the expenditures which I am incurring on that house property. So my income is going to be what? My income is gross annual value. Less I will reduce my costs. In my example, 600 was what? 600 was my cost. That's why I reduced that 600 cost. So in this case, municipal tax is also my cost. Because for maintaining that house, I have to pay some amount to the government, to municipality. And that's why I will reduce this municipal tax and I will get net annual value. After this, I will get two deductions under section 24. 24 में two deductions will be 24A and 24B. 24A talks about standard deduction 30% of NAV. Standard deduction. This everybody gets. Now I'll tell you the logic in short. What is this standard deduction? Because see, I say that for maintenance purpose, this plumber came and did some maintenance work. So everybody will have different expenditures. And this will be the best method to increase your expenditures and reduce your profits. लोग बोगस चीजें दिखा के एक्सपेंडिचर्स बढ़ाते थे. They used to increase the expenditure by showing bogus expenditures, and that's why for the government it was pretty difficult to identify each and every person's expenditure on the property. And that is why they said nothing doing, we will give you flat 30% deduction. इसके ऊपर एक रुपए का भी deduction नहीं मिलेगा. So even though my actual expenditure is more than this 30% of NAV, but still I will get how much? Only 30%. Because they said that usually 30% is the expenditure which everybody incurs on the property. So after all that calculation, they have considered is 30%. So deductions में दो चीज deduction मिलेगा 30% का, and second interest on borrowed capital. इसका मतलब क्या है? Interest on borrowed capital मतलब understand one thing, I have taken a loan for purchasing that house property. आराम से सुनना. I have taken one loan for purchasing that house property. Okay, I have this house property now. Now this house property I have given on rent and I am earning income on that. Okay, now I have income. Now वो जो loan लिया था मैंने, can I say I'll have to pay interest to the bank for taking that loan? Yes. So I will pay interest to the bank. Now ये जो मैं interest pay कर रहा हूँ ना, that is my cost. क्यों? Because अगर मैं loan लेता ही नहीं, तो मैं ये property नहीं लेता. अगर ये प्रॉपर्टी नहीं आता तो मुझे वो रेंटल अमाउंट भी नहीं मिलता. सो कैन आई से वो रेंटल अमाउंट मिलने के लिए आई हैव स्पेंट सम अमाउंट टुवर्ड्स इंटरेस्ट, एंड दैट इज व्हाई दैट इंटरेस्ट कंपोनेंट इज माय कॉस्ट. सो आई विल रिड्यूस दैट इंटरेस्ट ऑन बोरोड कैपिटल फ्रॉम माय नेट एनुअल वैल्यू. So these are the two deductions which I will get. One is standard deduction, second one is interest on borrowed capital. After that, how to determine this GAV, the first part. How to determine the GAV? Point number one, calculate the expected rent. First of all, you have to identify this expected rent and actual rent, whichever is higher or lower. Of course, whichever is higher. Whichever is higher, na? Okay, now what is this expected rent? Expected rent matlab what people used to do. My expected, for example, my actual rent is 1 lakh. I will make this jugaad. I will make this arrangement with the tenant that I will tell him that please don't pay me 1,50,000 rent. You pay only 1 lakh rupee rent, and 50,000 you give me in cash. So we will show only 1 lakh as my income, and I will pay tax only on 1 lakh. So this was such an easy method to evade taxes, right? And that is why they came up with the concept of expected rent. Now they said this from this property, 1.5 lakhs are expected. Now it does not matter how much amount you're taking from that particular tenant. So even though I'm taking 1 lakh rupees, but for me, the taxable amount is going to be what? 1,50,000 rupees. So this is the role which is played by this expected rent. So that jhol which I was doing earlier, I will not do those jhol now. So what is the meaning of jhol? Jhol matlab tax evasion. I will not do any kind of tax evasion. And even if I do those tax evasion arrangements, but still I'll have to pay tax on 1.5 lakhs only. Now the question comes how to identify this expected rent. Expected rent identify करने के लिए मुझे 3 चीज identify करने पड़ेगी. MFS थोड़ा clear लिखता हूँ. M, F and S. M is what? Municipal value. F is what? Fair rent. And S is what? Standard rent. Right? So first of all, you need to identify municipal value and fair rent, whichever is higher. Right? You will get this figure. You will get one figure here. You will compare that with S. S is what? Standard rent. Whichever is lower. इसका आंसर क्या आएगा मालूम है? इसका आंसर आएगा expected rent. And this again you will compare with actual rent, whichever is. Understanding? See, calculate expected rent higher of municipal value and fair rent. I will get one figure. After that, lower of answer from step 1 and standard rent, whichever is lower. I will get what? Expected rent. After getting that expected rent, I will reduce. Okay, I will compare that with actual rent. What is that actual rent? Rent receivable minus unrealized rent. So, for example, if I have not received that much rent, then I will not consider that as my income in actual rent, right? So, I will compare expected rent versus actual rent. Ekdam perfect hai? See, GAV is equal to higher of ER and ARR. ARR is actual rent received. Ekdam perfect. No problem till here. Pakka. Okay. I'll just take 1 or 2 points and then we'll stop for today. Now I have drafted or I have considered certain situations, situation 1, situation 2, situation 3. The entire chapter, this is the heart of the chapter, I can say. If you understand this, your house property is done. But if you don't understand this, your house property is not done, right? Because अभी तक जो देखा वो सब basics था house property का. So first identify करते हैं determination of annual value for different types of house properties. Point 1, if the property is let out throughout the previous year. If the property is let out throughout the previous year, then in that case, it is a plain vanilla case where you have to use the formula discussed in the previous slide. What was the formula? Expected rent and actual rent, whichever is higher. And how to compute that expected rent? MFS. Understand one thing, in every question, they will not give you in the same order MFS. Usually we have this habit of seeing municipal value first, fair rent second, standard rent third. ऐसा नहीं होगा every time, right? So ये mistake होता है, silly mistake है, but I'm just telling you because everybody does this mistake. MFS. MF is higher. Whatever answer we'll get, that answer and standard rent whichever is lower, I will get expected rent again whichever is higher. So basically higher, lower, higher. Perfect. Okay. Now I will just come here and discuss this last point. There is one concept called deemed to be let out property. Deemed to be let out property matlab kya? Ki if you have more than 2 house properties, if you have more than 2 residential house properties, then government is like, for 2 house properties, any 2 house properties out of those 3 properties will be considered as self-occupied properties. But the third property will be considered or will be assumed that you have given that property on rent. You have 3 house properties. Out of 3 house properties, government is like only 2 house properties will consider for self-occupied property, and the third property we will assume that you have given that property on rent, and that is why that third property will be considered as deemed to be let out property. Is it let out property? No, but we are deeming it is deemed that it is let out property. Are you understanding this? Pakka? Okay. Now, which properties to be considered for self-occupied and which property to be considered for let out? एक एग्जांपल देता हूं. There is one property in Mumbai. There is one property in Shimla, and there is one property in Goa. This Mumbai property gives me 3 lakh rent a year. I know 3 lakh is very less for Mumbai, but 3 lakh rent for a year, right? Shimla gives me 1 lakh rent for a year, and Goa gives me 2 lakh rent for a year. All the 3 properties are self-occupied properties for me, but government is not allowing me to keep 3 self-occupied properties. Government is asking me to consider one house property as deemed to be let out property. सोच के मुझे बताओ, which property will you give or will you consider as deemed to be let out property? मुझे chat में बताना. My question is, which property will you consider as deemed to be let out property? Perfect. Here, the property which is property from which I'm getting the least income. Property from which I'm getting the least income, I will consider that as deemed to be let out. अरे भाई, if I consider Mumbai property as let out property, और अगर शिमला and Goa अगर मैंने self occupied किया, then in that case I'll have to pay tax on 3 lakhs, no? Then of course I will consider the property which is giving me the least income, which means 1 lakh. So Shimla property will be considered as deemed to be let out property, and baki ke do I will consider as SOP, that is self-occupied property. I hope everybody is clear with this logic. Easy ekdam? Okay. See, where assessee owns more than 2 properties for self-occupation, any 2 house properties which are beneficial to the assessee. Now we understood how to compute which one is beneficial, right? Then any 2 properties will be considered as self-occupied property. And if it is self-occupied property, you know that my NAV is equal to 0. NAV is net annual value is equal to 0. Correct? पक्का एकदम clear. Great. उसके बाद जो other property है शिमला वाला will be treated as deemed to be let out property, and the GAV is going to be okay. Now GAV का usual formula क्या है? GAV is expected rent or actual rent, whichever is higher. Now, what is my expected rent? Say for example, okay, sorry. ये जो मैंने 3 लाख, 1 लाख, 2 लाख है, it is self-occupied. मैं तो एक गलती क्या बात बताते, it is self-occupied. I can get 3 lakh from Mumbai property, I can get 1 lakh from Shimla property, and I can get 2 lakhs from Goa property. It is like that. Then of course I will give Shimla property as let out property. Why? Because if I consider the expected rent, it will be 1 lakh rupees. Because if I consider that I'm letting out Mumbai property, it will be 3 lakh rupees on which I'll have to pay tax. Everybody clear with this, right? Okay. See, now you tell me, for Shimla property, am I receiving any rent? No, because all the 3 properties are self-occupied properties. So my actual rent is what? Nil. But what is my expected rent? My expected rent is 1 lakh. So can I say always जो deemed to be let out property है, my always actual rent is going to be 0? Because I'm not giving that property in rent, no, that's why I'm computing this. So my actual rent will always be 0, right? Because it is self-occupied. And that is why, can I make a formula and say that GAV is equal to expected rent. Exactly, they have done the same thing. So जो deemed to be let out property है उसके लिए GAV is equal to expected rent. The question of actual rent does not arise as it is not let out. दोस्त एकदम clear है ये part. Point number 5, deemed to be let out property. Okay, perfect. So we'll stop here. I will continue with rest of the topic tomorrow, and we are going to solve some questions of house property tomorrow. So today what we did, today we completed the revision of residential status and scope of total income. We solved multiple questions, different questions on residential status, and along with that we started with the revision of house property. House property का आधा chapter हुआ, आधा chapter बाकी है. We'll continue that tomorrow. Right, everybody? Cool. I hope you are clear with all the things which we discussed. Pakka? Great. Okay. So it's that time where I will solve your doubts. So आज के लिए इतना ही. अगर आपको कुछ भी doubts होंगे तो please let me know. अभी रुक के, otherwise रात को अगर तुम लोग के कुछ भी doubts आए तो please मुझे text करके बताना. I will be awake. Okay. And I will share one photo on the group. वो group में जो photo दूंगा वो question होगा. Please try to solve that question on your own. I'm not going to give you the answer first. पहले मुझे आंसर बताओ भी मत चलेगा. But for your own practice, I want you to solve. एक बार solve करके रखना. Tomorrow we'll discuss that. Okay. और आज जब भी ये lecture होने के बाद, I know it is 9 o'clock over there, but एक चीज ensure करना that you have read everything and you are sleeping. So before sleeping, you ensure that you have read everything. Whatever we did today, मेरे हिसाब से रेसिडेंशियल स्टेटस खत्म करो. अभी डिनर करो और खत्म करो रेसिडेंशियल स्टेटस पढ़ के. जिनको कुछ भी डाउट है तो कल का लेक्चर में यूट्यूब पे आज ही मैंने डाला, यू कैन रेफर टू दैट लेक्चर. और मेरे रिवीजन लेक्चर्स भी अवेलेबल है, रिवीजन लेक्चर में भी तुझे सेम मिल जाएगा. ठीक है? ओके. अगर अभी जिसको किसी को भी डाउट होगा तो लेट मी नो. आई एम स्टेइंग हियर. जिनको डाउट्स नहीं है दे कैन लीव द मीटिंग. थैंक यू वेरी मच. बाय बाय. सी यू. And take
So
care.
that section